afternoon. My name is Jessica Swift, and I'm a curriculum specialist with Mountain Desert Career Pathways. Mountain Desert Career Pathways works closely with our local schools, districts, community college, industry leaders to support career technical education in our community. On behalf of MDCP, I'd like to welcome each of you here today. We have a lot of exciting information to share with you, but before I get started, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items. Today, our presentation will be recorded and later posted on the MDC webpage, should you like to review it again or share it out with other classes. I will be monitoring the chat today, so feel free to type your questions in there at any time. If you would like to unmute and ask questions, I'd like to keep those towards the end for our industry specialists that are joining us today. There will be times throughout the presentation that you will have an opportunity to win a Starbucks gift card for answering correctly to a given question. Are there any questions before I get started? Okay. Alrighty. Today is our first part of a three-part series in College and Career Essential Skills virtual classroom presentation. It is my honor to introduce Mrs. Moreno, who is currently a work experience educator here in the High Desert. Prior to her career in education, Mrs. Moreno had 6 years in human resources, so she is our area expertise. Mrs. Moreno will be taking us through the ins and outs of resume writing. In addition to Ms. Moreno, we have 3 amazing industry representatives here to give us what we call our industry scoop. What they would like to see or recommendations on a resume. I want to thank each one of our industry leaders for being here today with us, because it brings true value to our students to be able to hear directly from you and be able to ask questions directly to an employer individually. Today, I first would like to introduce Mr. Kevin Smiling, who is the manager from Victor Valley Motors. Kevin, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm at work. We're masking.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Juan Rivera, who is the Director of Communications at the Marine Corps Logistics Base in Barstow. Juan?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hoorah. Pleasure and happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And lastly, we have Steve Terrell, who is a maintenance manager for the Mitsubishi Cement Corporation. Steve, would you like to unmute and say hello to everyone?
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. And like I said, Ms. Moreno is going to take us through the ins and outs of a resume. And then for about 25 minutes, we'll listen to that. And then we will open up and hear from our industry experts. Again, thank you all for being here today. And let's go. Take it away, Ms. Moreno.
Thank you so much, Ms. Swift. As Ms. Swift said, my name is Summer Moreno. I'm the Work Experience Coordinator for Victor Valley Union High School District. I've been doing that for the past 10 years, but prior to that, I spent 6 years in human resources, where my sole purpose, my job, was to look at applications, look at resumes, see who is going to be the best fit for jobs, scheduling those interviews, and then taking them through the interview and hiring process. So I'm really excited to be able to bring this information to you because I did this for years. I have looked at thousands of resumes, set up hundreds of interviews. And so the information I'm going to bring to you guys is from real life experience. And so hopefully it's great information and it will help you in your job search process. So let's get going here. Okay, so what is a resume and why is it important? So employers use resumes as a way to quickly screen potential applicants. They're selecting only the individuals they feel are right for the position. So making sure your resume is in tip-top shape is really, really vital. And here's why. According to Forbes, the average number of people who apply for any given job is 118 people. Okay, so you're not just competing against, 10 or 12 people for a job. When you're applying for a job, you can expect there's probably up to 118 people, if not more, applying for that same job. Only about 6 to 10 of those are actually going to receive an interview. So how are you going to stand out? How are you going to be one of those 6 to 10 people out of that 118 that's going to get that interview? You can kind of see the little cartoon over here. So when should I expect to hear back from you? You know, we all think like, oh, we're going to hear right back from them. And then here's the human resource person. Well, we do have a few other resumes to look over first. Just know that it is a long process. It is a big process, and you have really got to stand out. So I'm going to give you the secret to standing out. Hiring managers often decide whether or not to interview based on the first 10 to 15 seconds of seeing your resume. So when they're looking at that resume, or when they've got 118 to go through, they're not taking a ton of time just reading every single word on that resume and just really dissecting it and getting to know you. They're scanning it. They're scanning it, and they are looking for things that really stand out in a positive way and things that stand out in a negative way. Some of those negative things are, right off the bat, do we see typos? Do we see grammar issues? The formatting, does it look good? And some of the positive things are maybe, right off the bat, they're seeing that like, this is a beautiful resume. Your resume is the first sample of work that they're getting to see from you. So we want to make sure within those first 10 or 15 seconds that they're going, wow, this looks great. And you're going in that yes pile. Because if they see those mistakes, they're not even going to read. They're not even going to really look at what you bring to the table, because they're already seeing like, hey, maybe this person doesn't pay attention to detail. Their work ethic might not be that great, and they're going in that no pile. So your resume should be typed. It always needs to be typed, guys. Short and to the point, only 1 page. Include complete and correct information. Be neat and look professional. And make sure to proofread. And we're going to talk more about this because this is one of the main things that I see that students and adults make on their resumes. So we're going to talk about what needs to be included on a resume. And we're going to speak specifically to you guys as high school students right now. So resumes, they change and they evolve as time goes by. It is something that you guys are going to use for the rest of your life. But right now we're going to really focus on high school students, what your resumes should look like. Personal information. It needs to include personal information, an objective or profile, education, work and volunteer experience, awards, honors, and achievements, work skills, and references. So let's dive in. Oh, first, yay, I love these. We got a test your knowledge question. So this is for a $5 Starbucks gift card. So if you're the first one to type the answer into the chat, you guys will receive a $5 Starbucks card. So hiring managers decide whether or not to interview someone based on the first how many seconds of seeing their resume?
They're killing it, Miss Moreno, and we already got several, but Jafania Johnson is our winner. If you could put your private message, your email to me, I will make sure that gets to you before the end of the day.
Good job, guys. So let's take a look at that personal information. So full name, first and last name. When they're looking at that resume, they need to match it up with your application. There might be 10 Joes that apply. So we need to know specifically full name on the top of the resume. We need your address. We need your telephone number, including area code. These are so important because if you are selected, this is how they're going to contact you. So we need to make sure that it's proper information. And then an email. And you guys, please, 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 please be sure your email sounds professional. I've seen some interesting ones. And hotmama@yahoo.com does not sound like someone that you might want to hire for a professional position. So if you guys made those, I know my sons made them when they were young, and they were usually got their first one when they were starting to play a video game. And so, they would definitely not use that same first email. So make sure if that is similar to your email, make sure you guys are coming up with a new professional one. So here's what this should kind of look like. John Doe, we've got the address in there, we've got the phone number with the area code, and we've got a professional email there. So it does not have to look exactly like this, you guys. You're gonna hear me say this, resumes are not a one size fits all, but this is just some general information for you. So on just about every resume template that's out there, you guys are going to see a spot for an objective. But this is kind of the old way of thinking. And it's starting to switch. We want to start seeing, instead of an objective, we want to see a profile or a summary. So what an objective is it states a goal. So you might see on the top there, my goal is to, my objective is to get a job as a manager so that I can accomplish my goals in my career and learn technology. Okay, so you're kind of telling them what you want to do. But remember, we've got 10 to 15 seconds. So we don't want to tell them like what our goals are. We want to tell them what we have to offer. So immediately we're going to change that to a profile or a summary, and we're going to start stating our achievements. And we're going to say, hey, I'm goal-oriented. I'm a goal-oriented professional with exceptional technical knowledge and skills. We want to stand out within those first 10 or 15 seconds. So old way again, to get a job that uses my decision-making skills and gives me the responsibility. We're changing that up and we are saying good decision maker, able to take on responsibilities and have qualities that set me apart. We are telling them, hi, give me a chance. Get me in there for an interview. You are not going to be disappointed. Education. We're going to put education right at the top when we are a student and we don't have a lot of experience yet. Because what we do have is we have the job that we've been doing for the past 10, 12, 13 years, if you guys are seniors, and that's our education. And so we're going to include that right at the top. And this should include your name and location of school. It should list the curriculum that you're studying. It should include the dates of attendance. It should list diploma, degrees, certifications that you guys have earned. And it should list any relevant courses that you guys are taking. So here's an example. Now, a lot of you guys are CTE students, and you guys are amazing, okay? Because you guys already have amazing technical skills in your programs. And so we want to really set that apart. So if you guys are in a technical program, you guys are going to put that separate of your high school. And you're going to put that right at the top for them to see. Okay, so here's just an example, Desert Career Technical Education in Sunny Day, California. Make sure you guys are not using acronyms. An acronym is an abbreviation for something. And we know what it stands for because we're using these acronyms every day, these abbreviations every day. But the person looking at your resume will probably have no idea what DCTE stands for. Okay, but when they see Desert Career Technical Education, now they know that you know more specifically what it is. Put the program that you guys have done. So automotive training, put the dates. If you've received any certificate or completion dates, put that in there as well. And then a lot of you guys get licenses or like specific certifications, name that, put that on there. If you aren't part of CTE and you're just in high school, that's awesome too, because again, that's been your job for the past, however many years. So we've got here URock High School, Sunny Day, California, high school diploma, May of 2021. If you haven't graduated, just indicate your anticipated graduation date. That just lets them know, hey, I haven't graduated yet, but hey, I'm right on track and I'm gonna be graduating soon. We've got here, if you, again, don't put AP student. If you're an advanced placement student or an honors student, include that in there. If you're not, that's okay too. But anything that you can put in there that helps you to stand out is going to be awesome. Also include your GPA, but only include it if it's a 3.0 and above. Okay, that just really shows that, if you're getting those kind of grades, there is dedication, there is time management, there's just, all these positive things that it takes to get those grades. And those are the same qualities that they're looking for in an employee. Test your knowledge, Starbucks. Starbucks? We love to give away Starbucks. Miss Swift is the master of giving stuff away. So the average number of people who apply for any given job is.
Caden Zer got it. Oh, wait, no. That you typed 188 and it's going to go to Bryce Wicker for 118.
All right.
Bryce, can you put your email privately to me in the chat?
Awesome job, guys. So the next thing that we are going to look at is experience. And this is the part, and I know that this is the part that gives everybody anxiety, because teenagers come to me, students come to me all the time. They're like, hey, Miss Moreno, I can't get a job because I don't have any experience. And that's not true, you guys. You guys do have experience. We just need to think about what it is that you guys have done and how we can indicate that on your resume. And you guys, this is why resumes are so important. When you guys are filling out an application, they're giving you exactly the room and what they're asking for. And you can only put in so much information. But on your resume, you can go way deeper than that. You can really show them, hey, I haven't had paid experience, but this is what I do have. This is what I can bring to the table. And so that's why resumes are so, so, so important in standing out, with those 118 applicants. So your experience should show volunteer experience, specific projects that you guys have completed, along with that work experience. This should include anything that would demonstrate skills like communication, responsibility, respect, attention to detail, etc. So here's an example, guys. So here, our experience is saying, hey, what did we accomplish while we were at that job? What did I learn? What can I bring to the table? So here's one, a Target cashier, and they have quantified what they did there. And this is really important. So they rang up 200 customers per day. They accurately applied coupons to receipts. They positively resolved roughly 10 customer service issues a week. They have quantified the data wherever possible. And what that means is that they've made it measurable. They're not saying, if you just put rang up customers, did you ring up 2 customers? Did you ring up 10 customers? No, I rang up 200 customers. They resolved customer complaints. Did one customer complain to them and they did that one time? No, they're saying, no, you know what? I did this on an ongoing basis. And, so I am experienced in this. This is going to be something you guys are going to be able to use later on as you guys kind of delve deeper into work experience. But as often as you can, you really want to, put some meat behind what it is that you guys are capable of doing. So this is another one. Kids come to me all the time. Hey, Miss Moreno, I don't have any experience, but I babysit all the time. You guys, that is experience. And honestly, I really think that it is important experience because I'm not going to just let anybody watch my kids. It's going to have to be somebody that's very responsible. And so when you guys are applying for those first jobs, this is something that's completely okay to put on there. It's just, you want to be very honest about it. You need to be able to contact the person that you babysat for or the person that's hiring would, and then also be very professional in how you list the things that you did there. So, ensure children were bathed and fed, cared for a boy and girl age 5 to 8. I'm not going to go into depth on this because I am going to show you guys where you can get all this information at the end, but just know that's something that you can include in there. TA, most of you guys have probably been a teacher's assistant or an office assistant at some point. It's okay that you guys weren't paid for this. List it, okay? List it. It is experience. These are positions that people trusted you. Not everybody can be an office assistant. Not everybody can be a teacher's assistant. You were selected to be in those roles and you've gained real experience from it. So go ahead and indicate those. Those of you guys that have been in CTE, include those internships that you guys have done. any specific roles that you may have played in your CTE program. Maybe you guys have been a leader. Maybe you guys have headed up certain projects. Make sure you guys are including that. It does not have to be paid experience. Awards, honors, and achievements. This is another super way to show what you guys have accomplished up until this point. So this can look like a couple of different things. It can be any type of honors or achievements from school, community, church. It's just showing to the employer that you guys have been involved. You guys have, maybe you haven't worked, but you've been involved in other activities and you've actually received honors and awards, and you guys have, stood out because of this. Only include things that are recent. So don't go back to those middle school years. We only want to see things that are, that are current and relevant. If you have nothing to put here, totally okay. Just don't include it in this section. This is just another thing that you can add. So here's some examples. So HOSA, school choir, track and field. Did you receive perfect attendance? That's a great one. So many times with employers nowadays, one of the biggest complaints I get is, people just aren't showing up to work. They're coming in late. They're not reliable. If you're getting perfect attendance in high school, that's quite an accomplishment. Yearbook, National Honor Society, all these different things can be included in there. Here's how they can look. Here's the format for an award, for honor roll, for most valuable player. I had a kid ask one time, can I put most improved? And I said, that absolutely. That shows that you were able to take direction and you were able to grow. And that's something that's actually really admirable and wonderful. So just a couple of things that you guys can put on there. Skills and abilities. This section is your chance to sell yourself. This should include specific skills that will make you stand out above the other people who may be applying for the job. So even if you don't have that work experience or those awards or, all those other things that we talked about, you guys do. You guys have the skills to pay the bills, okay? What do those look like? Computer programs, Microsoft Office, PowerPoint presentations, Photoshop, etc. I really should have added the Google suite to this because you guys know how to do Google Meets and Zooms and all this computer technology that I'm going to be totally honest with you, I didn't even know how to do up until a year ago when some of this changed. I had never done a Zoom until COVID hit. So, you guys already have this experience.
So true, Ms. Moreno. I'm going to give you that 5-minute countdown.
Okay, awesome. So we've got equipment, any equipment that you guys can do, personal work ethics, and you guys come to our other programs. We've got 2 other series in here, and we're going to really go in depth and talk about some different skills that employers are really looking for. Okay, what to avoid. So really quick, don't give irrelevant information. Don't talk about personal life. Don't supply a photo of yourself. Unless you're an actor or model, they don't need to see that. Don't lie. You guys, don't lie. They will find out. You might get the job, but you're not going to keep the job. Don't give your age, ethnicity, or political affiliation. Let them just look at the skills that you have and let them choose from that, okay? Don't give too much information. Some more things to avoid. Again, short, sweet, and to the point. Don't go beyond 1 page. Don't misspell or use incorrect grammar or inappropriate language. These are some that I have seen, okay? Look at how 1 word makes a huge difference here. So they put in their skills. I can type without looking at the keyboard, okay? Obviously, they don't have that skill because they didn't spell the keyboard correctly without looking at the keyboard, okay? Another one, speak English and Spanish, okay? Well, we don't need someone that can speak Spanish. We do need someone that can speak Spanish. And then another one, answer phones, file papers, respond to customer emails, and take orders, okay? One word, one typo can change everything. Okay. So make sure you guys are paying attention to that. I'm going to be really honest. I need multiple people to proofread because I just get going and I need multiple people to proofread my stuff. And that's okay. So just some common mistakes so you can see extra, oh, whoops, extra spaces, typos. You can see right here, if you are capitalizing the start of every one of these bullets, make sure you do that all the way down. I know that it seems like little things, but these little things really, really stand out because again, this is the first product of work that they get to see. And if they see that, oh, no attention to detail, they don't care. Maybe they're not very smart. That's what and you really are smart. You really do have all these wonderful things to bring. So make sure you guys are careful with that. References. Don't worry about references on your resume. Those are something that come later. The hiring manager will ask for that later on, and you can give that to them on a separate sheet of paper. Just don't need it. Don't worry about it on your resume. Power words, use power words whenever you can. It'll help make you stand out. Here's an example of a good resume here. This is Justin Bieber's resume, you guys, if he was a high school student. Resumes are not one size fits all. There's so many different ones that are out there. You need to find the one that works best for you. There's free online resume templates. Canva offers them, Novu Resume, Resume Genius. You guys go to TikTok, type in resumes. There's so many great resources out there. I know we're running short on time, so I'm not going to show this one, but there's just so much great information out there for you guys.
Free resume templates.
We'll skip that. You guys, right here, if you need to contact me for anything, here's my information. summer@vvuhsd.org. If you have questions, I am happy to answer them for you. But I've got a great little resource for you guys right here. If you click on this and you go over here, this is my website, and you go to finding a job, you guys can go right here to resume. And you guys can see everything that we just went over. Resume writing tips. Here's the whole slideshow that we just went over. You can click these. These are those free online resume templates. You can click right there to go to it. Google Docs has a great way of doing free resumes. This is exactly step-by-step how you need to go through it. You don't want to do those? Download these. It's a whole set here of a classic resume, a matching cover letter, a matching thing for your references. You guys can just download those, fill in the information, and you guys are good to go. And then here's a worksheet if you need it, sample resumes, more funny proofreading stories, and just all kinds of information for you guys. So if you missed anything, you need any further information, check out this website. Don't have the answer, email. I love this stuff. I love helping kids. So just let me know what you need.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Moreno. If you could, yeah, there you go. That way we could see everyone. We've gotten numerous questions in the chat. Thank you guys for sending those to me. But at this time, we are going to turn it over to Kevin, Steve, and Juan. So students, if there is anyone that would like to unmute and physically ask their question, I will go ahead and open that floor to you now. If not, I'll start reading the ones that we've already gathered. Anybody brave enough to unmute and ask?
Would you guys hire someone with little to like no experience?
Anyone want to?
Well, we hire with no experience all the time. It's just a matter of whether or not you're willing to continue to show up, play well with others, and then do some physical labor. I mean, we're a cement plant, so we've got openings most of the time, and it's just a challenge of finding people that want to come out and work. So yeah, we hire them.
Very true. I hear that a lot from our industry reps are about the dedication piece, the grit kids, like who's ready to do the work and put in the time. So thank you, Steve. Again, Steve is from Mitsubishi Cement Center here in the high desert. So you heard it directly from him. They hire with little to no experience. Juan, Kevin, anyone else want to chime in on that?
Yes, absolutely. I challenge you when you say, would you hire someone with no experience? If you listen to Miss Summer Moreno, you probably have tons of experience. You just need to know how to articulate it on a resume. So whether that's communication skills, whether that's, if you're a coach for a baseball team, basketball, you're doing interpersonal relationships, you're communicating, you know, I'm just saying that, yes, there's opportunities to get hired without a skill set you can learn on the job, but that's something you would probably put on your resume. Quick learner, very eager to learn new styles, new techniques. Again, I challenge you to reevaluate that statement, and Ms. Moreno has hit it spot on. You're probably full of skill sets. You just need to think about it and articulate it in the resume. Thank you.
What I'd add to that, Caden, is that every single one of us and every single person you will ever interview with at one point did not have experience. And so everyone has to gain that experience. And it's how do you connect with someone to help you gain that experience? Whether it's a paid job or the stuff that you do in school, your extracurricular activities, everything that we've been talking about so far, it is about how do you present it? How do you present yourself? How do you present your experience? And how do you present where you're trying to gain more experience? But again, everyone you're ever going to interview with, we've all been in that spot where we didn't have the experience.
Very true. Thank you. All right, we have some. Anyone else want to unmute, or I will ask the questions that have been typed in. Again,
I have one.
go ahead.
So I was wondering, like, say you're more of a volunteer at like different places that you were working at, but it's only volunteer. Would like that help you out with getting actual jobs?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So again, like Ms. Moreno said in the presentation, that you can change your unpaid and how our industry specialists, you change that unpaid experience as and type it up as experience.
I'm gonna chime in on that. I am the communications director at the Marine base, but this is just Juan Rivera speaking. When I look over resumes, the ones that actually stand out to me are the ones that actually have that volunteer type experience on there. That tells me a lot about the individual besides the work skills, because in any organization, you want to make sure that the person you're bringing into your organization can fit in, can provide a synergy that will be able to correlate with the rest of the employees. And if you're demonstrating that you actually like to get involved in the community, volunteer, this and this, that speaks about your character and your traits. So yes, I actually look for it.
Well, I don't know if you were reading my mind, but the next question in the chat was, what is the number one thing that stands out on a resume in each of your fields, both good and bad?
So if I can answer Destiny, add on to Destiny real quick. Just remember, it's not getting paid that qualifies it as experience. Everything that you do qualifies as experience, and simply how do you put that onto a resume? As far as us, what we look for, a lot of what Ms. Moreno said, there is a lot about spelling, there is a lot about layout, but at the same time, that also doesn't stop us from interviewing people and going to the next step. Because somebody misspelled something doesn't necessarily automatically count as a disqualification. But for me, for my business, which is sales, we look at resumes to see the story. Selling is being a good storyteller. How do you tell a story? And there's different ways of telling a story. It's in written form. It's in as you talk. It's your presentation. There's many different ways to tell a story. So a resume for us is we're looking at what story are you telling through written word. And when you're selling, specifically selling cars, you send a lot of emails, you send a lot of texts. And so the ability to communicate well through the written word is very important.
Thank you. Okay, we had another one it was, if you don't get the job, do you need to reapply or do you keep the application on file?
We ask you to reapply. We keep it for about 6 months. After that, if we've got an opening for a similar position, we won't know that you're interested in that one unless you reapply. So about 6 months is how long we maintain an accurate record.
And Steve, will you touch base on what you personally think the number one thing that helps students stand out or employees, excuse me, stand out in a resume?
Well, the biggest thing I look for is a continuation. If there's a large gap for some reason, that typically is a flag. I also look to make sure that we're not just job hopping. So something that is a flag to me is if there's not a consistency. If there's different things, especially for a younger age person, if you're trying different things, I look for that because you're trying to figure out what you want to do and how you want to continue to apply yourself. Use the skills that you have. So that's something that stands out for me to look for in a positive way. Obviously, I look for spelling and punctuation because a lot of what I deal with is detail oriented. I have a lot of engineers, and that's very important, is to be detail oriented. I like Kevin's story of telling a story because, there's a lot of things that you've done through your 18, 19 years or older that you need to be able to tell us in that one page why we should look at you further. And I like that.
I love how I appreciate that. And I love how Ms. Moreno pointed out how many people are actually applying for the job. And this is truly about how you can stand out in that first piece of paper. So thank you for that input. And this actually is a phenomenal question, because even as an adult, kids, I just want you to know that even as an adult, when I apply for jobs, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't know if I'm going to get, you put yourself out there. So this particular student is asking, after applying online, do you call in 3 days and ask about your application? So I get it. And you can almost ask this question too, even after an interview. Is it safe to call, or would you shy away from it? And it's fine, whatever. Please be honest with us. That's what we're here for.
So I've got a couple of older adult children, and their biggest complaint was the employer who didn't respond back, whether they were accepted or rejected. I understand that is a common thing for this generation that's now trying to get hired. I find that to be an employer that's not really worth being employed by. So if we don't respond to you and you call back in 3 days, we should be kind enough to let you know if you're still in consideration or not. And then after an interview, even when we do interviews in-house here, we call everyone in, those that were selected and those that were not selected, and let them know why they did or did not get a position, and answer any questions that they have. Communication and feedback and being polite to each other, that's the key to success.
So true. Thank you.
I don't know if we're jumping ahead on this answer, but exactly like Steve said, an interview it goes two ways. It's not just the employer interviewing you, but it's also you interviewing the employer, and how they communicate with you is just as important, because not only if you're hired, are you going to be representing them, but you want to be proud of the place that you are working at, because you're going to be out in the community saying, I work for X, Y, and Z. And so the back and forth, it's no longer simply what the employer wants and how they tell you to work. It goes back and forth now. There's an expectation, it's a contract. We're going to offer this kind of environment, this kind of culture, this kind of pay. In return, this is what we need from you, from us, all the employees. But as far as being able to call to answer the question specifically, never, my opinion, never delay. If you've applied and you want to hear something, call. It doesn't hurt. As an employer, it shows initiative. It shows part of who you are. Again, it's telling a story. You raised your hand, you submitted your resume. That's basically raising your hand. And now it's, do you wait for the teacher to call on you? Or do you get a little bit, hey, I'm here, I want an answer. So don't, yes, call and go from there.
Good. I appreciate that answer. I think I myself wonder that sometimes. So one, thank you for answering that. And thank you for asking that question. Say you have a wide range of experience. How do you decide what to include on your resume?
I'm going to kind of jump in there really quick. Doing your resume about the specific that you are applying. Okay, think about those. Are they looking at job? So range of things, and you can't fit it all in one page, or it seems like it doesn't really apply. Hit on those things that are most important, that really are going to make you valuable for that employer. So those things might be different based on, the different jobs that you are applying for. So really think about those specialized skills or experiences and how they tie into the job that you're applying for. So I think that I should have touched on that a little bit more in that presentation, but that's really, really important, is to, not just list, all these random skills that you have, which are great, but really which ones are most important as they correlate to the job.
Do your research on the job. Yep, that's awesome. There's another question. What is the typical turnaround time that you would hear back after submitting an application with each of your companies?
I'd say if you're talking about, again, with the federal government, the average time is usually within 5 to 7 business days. They have to, the hiring managers, they have their full-time job, then they're trying to recruit someone, then they're trying to grade these resumes at the same time, and then they're working on projects. So I would tend to say 5 to 7 business days would be an average from a federal government perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
I'll let Kevin go first.
Oh, Kevin.
I believe each position, it depends on the position to a degree. Depends on how many applications that we're looking for, how many positions are trying to be filled. I can tell you that Victorville Motors just went through, for our first time, we put an ad up on Indeed. We usually go by word of mouth. We do a lot with the local college as well, but we wanted to expand our reach, and we posted an opening for a sales position on Indeed. And within 2 days, we had close to 70 applications. People raised their hand, and we had to stop it because that was a lot more than what we were looking for as far as an opportunity. And it took us a few days to get through that. We definitely reached out to every single person, even if it was, thank you, received it, we're not going to move forward anymore. But then the phone calls we willed it down to about, I think it was 20 to 22 that we were interested in, that had longer conversations, that turned into, I think it was 10 or 11 that we brought in for face-to-face interviews, and then we hired from there. So the timeline really depends on the position and really how many people you have to go through.
So does it typically with your company say, like, if you're posting a position, like I think what the students are asking is if they submit the application, doesn't your companies typically say like the closing date, so then they can say, okay, this is closed on this date, we'll give them about 5 days and then we'll call. Is that about how it happens?
In a perfect world, I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay.
In a perfect world.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Okay, so I think this kind of will go maybe, and anyone can jump in on this, but I think Ms. Marina will be able to answer this. If I have job shadowing, would that be under the section of experience, education, activity, or activity on the resume?
So I would put that under experience. If you've job shadowed somebody, you have actually gained work experience. You just want to indicate it honestly. So, you would put on there that, you were a volunteer or an intern or it was a job shadow, so you're not misrepresenting it that, hey, yeah, I did this job and, I'm an expert. You would want to indicate that, hey, it was a job shadow thing, but look, these are all those wonderful things that I learned. And I just really appreciate what Juan said earlier about volunteer work and job shadows and things like this, because, I will work a job when they give me a paycheck. I mean, that's great. But how many people will go and, earn work experience or volunteer and they're not getting paid? They're just trying to better themselves or give back. And that speaks to character. And character is so important when you guys are going and working for companies. That's what they're really looking for is, the individual that's going to keep you the job and really benefit you as an employee.
Very well said. Thank you, Ms. Moreno. This is a good question too, because in the aspect of unofficial work, perhaps construction, landscaping, et cetera, that's under the table, do we list that as work or volunteer experience?
Again, I feel that's experience. As long as we're not misrepresenting what it is that we did, as long as it's verifiable. I always say that it's a verifiable experience, that when the employer looks at that, okay, well, they've got the construction, a lot of construction people work under the table. That doesn't mean that it wasn't real experience and added real value to what you have to do. But make sure that employer is able to contact that person and say, hey, Mike said that he worked, construction from January to March with you. Can you verify that? So I would say that's the most important thing, is that it's verifiable experience.
Okay, thank you. What are some entry-level positions within each of your company, and what skills are you looking for those? I guess we'll start with Juan.
Thank you for the question. I would say I'm the communications director, so that means IT, radios, and telephone, right? So from an entry-level perspective, we probably would say help desk, customer service. That's probably the ground floor. It's not specialized. You'll get experience and more specialized experience as you progress. But yeah, I would say help desk, and the skill sets that's associated with the help desk or any customer service related position is interpersonal skills, communication. Can you speak? You're talking to the customer. That's not the time to be shy. At the same time, I would suggest to be inquisitive. So, someone has a problem with the computer, that doesn't mean that they know how to report that problem or how to articulate that problem. So you have to really dig and not insult their intelligence, but pull out the information you're going to need in order to provide the resolution that they're actually looking for. So initiative, communication skills, interpersonal skills.
Thank you, Juan.
You're welcome.
Steve?
So I look for things as far as entry-level positions. Most of ours are going to be labor positions, so very unskilled, just physically taxing. And that's on the hourly rates. And then on our salary rates, we look for things that if you're in an administrative role, that you have some clerical skills, you have the ability to time manage. Those would be some essential skills that we would have necessary for that. On your technical side, obviously we're going to look for education and experience with regards to where you may have done some intern work or other related field work, so that we can get a feel for that and do some investigating with regards to what your skill set is. But another thing that I typically will look for more on my professional side versus my just labor side is I go to their social media and I look to see what they do and how they do it.
Thank you.
That is huge. And I don't care how far back it is, if you've got something on your social media that's going to be embarrassing to the company, I'm not hiring you.
And can you share, because there's some questions coming into what the entry level positions within your company starts at?
Most of our entry level positions are right around $17 an hour or higher. And we have, most of our labor force comes to it from a contract labor organization so that we can watch them for a while. What we look for is a work ethic, communication skills, how well you play well with others, and safety. Because we're a heavy industrial facility, if you can't meet our safety requirements, that's usually indicative of not being with us for very long. But our skilled labor positions are in the $20 to $30 range or higher. So it's a good way to stay local. We do offer training. So I'll take my laborers, and based on their work ethic and their attendance and safety, I will take and put them through a 3, 4, 5-year training program and actually make them an electrician, heavy diesel mechanic, or a mechanic, right, school, everything. And I pay for all the schools, actually pay for you to go to the school, and then I supplement that with OJT with a mentor. That's being done through both Chaffee College and Victor Valley College. And also, we're also reaching out to the local high schools to try to get a free apprenticeship and apprenticeship program started for various things. So right now we've got electrical and mechanical, and we're working on mechatronics and some other programs, aviation. So that's where the large employers are. We work well with most of the employers up here, and it's a good place to work, good place to play, and a good place to stay.
And Steve, do you have to be 18 to get a job there?
Yes.
Yes. And Juan, we had a question to come in for you. You hire civilians, and do they have to be 18?
The answer is yes. But I want to, first of all, Steve, I applaud what you and your company does, interacting with the different programs. Kudos to you and your company. But I did want to speak on, yes, we require 18, but I want you to focus on something. And some of the colleges, the community colleges and whatnot, they have these programs called pathways. All right. Pathways are a program that you can enter as a student as you're trying to pursue your career, whatever that may be, accounting, anything. And so the federal government, we actually have close ties with the Pathways program. So if we have entry-level positions becoming available, IT, labor, accounting, we sometimes actually go to the community colleges and ask them to provide us a list of their students that are in that particular field or career track, and we could bring them in an entry-level position.
Okay, thank you. I also want to touch base on the fact that I absolutely love that, Steve, you shared about the social media. I think that students do not realize how important what they post as a child can haunt them later. My daughter wants to get into law enforcement, and I constantly am reminding her, like, make sure you don't, what you do now could haunt you. So thank you for pointing out that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure all the educators that are on here will continue in that with you. Kevin, entry-level positions in your company, do you have to be 18, and what is starting pay?
Yes, you have to be 18, and we have different starting positions. Like most, I think most industries, it's much more labor intensive, because what you're doing is you're learning and gaining experience being around the people who are doing it. Generally minimum wage. But if you're interested in going into marketing or project management, we have our marketing and events department that is always looking for part-time, sometimes full-time people to help with that. We have lot valets and service valets, and sometimes even lube techs, depending on your background, if someone's a little bit more experienced. And most of those are, again, they're mostly minimum wage, but it's not about that job. When you're getting a first-time job, it's about how you're using that to leverage to your next opportunity, your next position. For us at Victorville Motors, we're a very sales-driven industry. And so right now, it just so happens to be a great story to tell that one of my top salesmen, he was started as a valet for us many, many years ago. He was a valet for a year and a half to 2 years, and he's been a salesman now for 5 years. And last year he made over $150,000 because he took the time to learn, to absorb what was around him. He asked questions and he worked hard to get to that place. To go, to add what Steve said, what Juan said, one of the biggest things for us when it comes to being someone that we want to hire and your opportunity to grow is really about your own coach ability. How willing are you to be coached? How willing are you to hear feedback and direction and not take it personal? How willing are you to be part of a team, knowing that it takes, Michael Jordan didn't win any championships by himself. Kobe didn't win any championships by himself. But it should have been 8, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But
So true.
But it takes, you have to have a whole team. You have to have people who, if everyone did the exact same thing, nothing would get done. Everybody has to play their part. And so it's learning how to be coached and one of the biggest things is where you're being asked to do something here right now, and it actually affects something that's happening over here, but because you don't understand how it connects, put as much energy and time into it to do it as effectively and to the best of your ability. Over time, when you gain experience, you start to understand how what you're doing here has an effect on something over here. And once you start to understand that, that comes with age, experience, and those of us with gray hair, we call it wisdom.
We earned that wisdom. Okay, so we have a question. I'm sorry, I skipped down to it, but let's say I had a job, but I got laid off because of the pandemic. I only worked for about a month. Would I consider my time experience or ... Moreno, I don't know who wants to, anybody?
So these are crazy times. Maybe if you would have asked me that a year ago, hey, I only had a job for a month, should I include that on there? I probably would have told you no, because, that it probably doesn't show a very strong work ethic or, the reliability piece that we're looking for. But, if you wanted to indicate, due to COVID, short-term position, your COVID short-term position or something on there so that they understood that, hey, this is why. That might be okay. But as it was kind of spoken of earlier, we don't want to see jumping around. We don't want to see short-term things because if you jump around and I hire you and I invest time and training into you, and then you hop to the next job, that doesn't benefit me or my company. And so those are things that really stand out. So, if you want to put that on there because, hey, you're so excited, hey, you finally got some experience, maybe just somewhere in there, COVID short-term position.
Anyone else like to elaborate on that, or is that good?
Exactly what she said. I probably would say that, the company or business had to downsize due to COVID. But yeah, I definitely have an asterisk there. I agree with Steve. One of the first things I do look at in a resume, to be honest, is the length of time. If I keep seeing these 2 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, it sends that flag up. But again, if you're articulating that the experience came from this position and the reason I'm no longer there was due to downsizing based on COVID, we all understand that scenario right now. So.
Or something like you had to move.
Right. Mitigating circumstances, yes. Not because I'm looking to keep jumping or moving ahead. Right.
Exactly. It's funny because my dad made my sister and I got a fast food restaurant job. She got a retail job, and he wouldn't let us quit until we had 12 months experience and we were in high school. So I was like, I should have picked better on my first job. But he wouldn't let us quit because he wanted to make sure that we had that experience. So that is a testament. I appreciate you guys sharing that. All right, we're getting close to our time. So I'm going to wrap this up, but we will stay on after if anyone wants to stay and ask any additional questions. So I want to thank you so much, Ms. Moreno, Mr. Kevin, Juan, Steve, for joining us today. It is a true testament to your willingness to help our community. Students, these are all community leaders and industry specialists that live, play, and work here in the high desert and make very good livings. It's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. And these are all wonderful companies to join. I thank you so much for our industry partners. As a parent and as a teacher and educator, we can tell our students so many times what they should do, what they should put, how they should dress, what they should act, how they should act, but really you nail it home for us and bring that home into life and that validity. So we really thank you for that. I want to remind the students that next Friday, we will be same place, same time. We will be having an acing your interview section. And then the following Friday, we will be having employee essential skills. So I hope that you guys will be able to join us, because I know that interview skills, how to dress, how to answer certain questions. Is it okay to ask questions? Those are things we don't know about, and sometimes we might be a little afraid to ask them. And then taking that deeper dive into what employers are really looking for in an employee and what can not only get you the job, but keep that job. So I appreciate you all being here. And we look forward to seeing you next week.